Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. You know the rules. Please stand clear of the discussion doors because the next stop is the Highbury Squad. Here we go. Another round of football talk. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. We're almost there. It is the night before Christmas. The night before the Premier League kicks in. And joining me once again is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kev and Campbell. Well, good evening, squaddies.
Squaddies.
Everyone in the chat. And we have a very special guest joining us. We're going to be hearing from Axe. As the season goes and as news comes in, as you know, Akhil Vyas from the Arsenal Supporters Trust is back in the house. Welcome, Axe.
Thank you. Good to be here. It feels like it's been a while. It feels like it's been a long summer, but it kind of hasn't it? It's just weird. It's all starting again tomorrow, to be honest.
I know. It's kind of like everything's morphed into one. Here we are again on the eve of a new season. But if I may say so, congratulations from everyone in the squad on becoming a dad, and you're expecting a boy.
Correct. Yes. I haven't obviously become a dad yet, but yeah, expecting a boy in a couple of months, end of October. So gearing up to that. I've got to think about signing up to the Junior Gunner membership, don't I, in the next few
Well, he's already a gooner.
Well,
he's already a gooner. That goes without saying, yeah.
Doesn't have a choice there, yeah.
No choice at all. Okay, let's get stuck into things. You guys, feel free to jump in and ask Akhil any questions that you have regarding the Supporters Trust. I wanted to start off with when we announced that you were on, I was inundated with questions. And to be honest with you, Axe, I've never really seen so many adults be confused about a credit card. Usually we know how to just take it and spend it, right? You guys posted something too from it. It comes with a caveat. It's attached to tokens and coupons. Can you explain what this is exactly?
So that's different. The actual that people have been getting
that's their season ticket now, right?
That's their season ticket. It's called the My Arsenal Rewards card, and it can do two things. You can use it as just a season ticket. You don't need to use it as a card, as a payment card. You can just go in as you get to the Emirates in next weekend. You can tap in, and that you're in like you would normally do. So it replaces your other card. What you can do with it though is you can preload it with money, and then that you can spend in the ground, in the shops, and all that kind of stuff. And for that, you get kind of points and you can kind of collect rewards. So think of, lots of people kind of collect Avios points or something like that. Think of it as maybe Avios points. But the important thing to say is you don't have to use it because there's a lot of people who don't want another payment card. They're happy with what they've got. Absolutely fine. They can just use it as a season ticket or a silver or a red or whatever they have. Also, the club have sent a digital version. So you can put that in your Apple wallet and stuff like that. So you can now, and I think, to be fair, this was always coming, but I think COVID's just made it happen a lot quicker. But you can now use your phone to come in. So you could, in theory, put this in the drawer and never use it. You could just use your phone. Obviously, not everyone has a smartphone. Maybe people's batteries might go. So I would probably recommend keeping both of them on you as you go to games because you don't want to be stuck outside with your phone dead and this at home. So you don't have to use it as a payment card if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can. And I think there's kind of rewards and stuff you can get. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I think are, some people will love it, the whole reward system. Some people will be edging for a kind of a trip to the training ground or for a signed shirt. And that's great for some, who enjoy that sort of stuff. Some just aren't into that and just want to go and watch their game. So you can do either. You're not forced to kind of, use it.
Right. So what caused confusion then for people? What was
I think people were confused about did they have to actually register it? Do they have to use it as a payment card? Suddenly the concourses only take this and not, normal
normal cards.
And it's nothing like that. So I think there was a little bit maybe on the comms that we have fed back to the club, just to say, make it clear that you don't actually have to register it, because there's something called Ping It, which you will remember it was connected with Barclays, but it's not anymore because Barclays actually stopped Ping It. But Ping It's basically like a PayPal type deal. You can preload it with funds. I think that's where people were confused, that they weren't sure, do I have to do something? But I got this a couple of days ago. I haven't done anything with it. And I can just go to the Chelsea game and use it if I want. Don't have to do anything.
Right. So, I mean, I think it sounds like this particular thing sounds like a good idea. They're saving on paper. They're moving into kind of a digital era. And it sounds something a little bit, I wouldn't say forward thinking, but to me.
Yeah. You know what? When it was first kind of talked about 6 months ago, I mean, Arsenal have been planning it for a few years, but when it was talked about 6 months ago or so, there was some skepticism around it in terms of, is it a commercial thing? Is it a way to make a bit more money off fans and stuff? And it was obviously at a time when the Super League happened, monkeys aren't, let's just say people's opinions are divided on them. So I think everything Arsenal do, people just tend to question. And we've fed that back to Arsenal. I fed that back personally to the CEO plenty of times, saying, everything you do will be looked at, because people sadly just don't trust these owners. I think first when we looked at this, we thought, is it a bit, but then I think now we look at it, and there's been a lot of other stuff happening recently as well, with kind of the cryptocurrency and stuff, which I think that's a little bit more delicate. But I think with this, pretty harmless in terms of those who want to use it can, those who don't. And you know what? If you've got young people, if you've got children and stuff, and you do get to, win a competition and get something, or meet a player, or, get a video message on your birthday, then what's the harm in that? If it makes people happy, that's a good thing. So yeah.
Right. I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, I know that there are many of us who are angry, and obviously you were part and you spearheaded a movement earlier this year. But the new kit comes out, sexy yellow, and they know how to reel us in. Then the third kit comes out. I guess I'm just more offended by. There was two things: the travel collection, which I thought was a little weird to call it that, considering nobody can go anywhere, Kev. But then the third kit, which every club does and every club has to do, because it's a revenue stream. But the third kit for me just definitely seems like something that has now become, part of every club's mantra during a season. And they seem to release it at specific times, Akhil, the timing of everything. And of course, retailers do that for Christmas shopping. I mean, and they don't get killed, right? So have you seen a more tempered tone from what you're involved with and people who reach out to you and the AST in terms of fans' feelings with some of this stuff?
Yeah, you know what? I've always said things like shirts and stuff. It's a choice, right? There'll be some people who, I feel sorry for parents. Always feel sorry for parents who are young children who won't get the politics of what spending money means and owners and all that, and you wouldn't want them to at a young age. So they'll see the new shirt and think, oh, can I get that, mummy or daddy? And I'm thinking ahead to probably in a year or two, and that's me. but I mean, generally, it's a choice, and if people like the shirts, want to buy the shirts, I say let them do it. In a way, the pandemic's taught me a lot. Life is short. Like it's if it makes people happy, then I don't see the issue at all. So I think Arsenal, Adidas will obviously market things. I mean, Arsenal generally, commercially have to improve. They know that. And the way to improve commercially, it does result in potentially getting more revenue for the club at a time where we've lost about 140 million through no fans in the ground. So it's hard because we can't criticize everything they do, because when they're trying to get money in. So it's a delicate one. But I think, you expect you expect football shirts to come out in the summer. You expect books to be released December, just before Christmas. It's just one of those things.
Right.
And generally, I think the shirts things, we don't get much contact on that. And to be fair, I see quite a lot of excitement by it now on social media, and people love the videos and stuff. And, fair enough.
Brings people together. All right,
exactly.
Kevin Axe, this is the big one. The crypto collab. it seems like this is the one where people are thinking, you know, they're angry about, or they're getting fleeced, or they're being asked to, you know, seems like some people's take on it is, what's the difference between this and gambling? If I being asked to, like, oh, I can buy a token, it's like walking into Vegas into a casino, and it's, you know, you've got all your special coupons and all this type of stuff. Can you talk us, because Kev and I talk about crypto a lot, and we've had people on the show, you know, there's organizations like the Football Coin that we've spoken to that seem to do really good things. What's your take on this and your understanding from the AST perspective?
So I'm not an expert by any means here, but essentially what I understand it is, it's a cryptocurrency, i.e. you can buy tokens, and with those tokens you can vote on things, and you can do things on the app that Arsenal will kind of post out during the season. Every member is going to be given a token. So every red, silver, purple, gold, platinum member will be given a token for free. They don't then have to buy any more if they don't want to. They can if they want. I personally probably won't be. I haven't actually even signed up to the free one yet. I saw the email earlier, but I haven't actually done anything with it. And then what will happen is Arsenal will then put sort of votes, but it's going to be stuff that, in my eyes, doesn't matter massively. You know, it's important, but not massively important. So, you know, they're not going to kind of vote on, you know, player contracts or should someone get a new deal or anything like that, you know, in case anyone's wondering. It's going to be like, what sort of music should they play pre-game or after the game? You know, who should do the next Instagram takeover? So when I read about this, it seems like it's more sort of light-hearted stuff, and it's
fan involvement, isn't it? It's fan involvement as opposed to. Look, let's be honest. If you're going to do a token, do a token that really has meaning for fans. You get your season ticket cheaper. You get your shirts cheaper. Stuff that matter. You get your beer cheaper. That would go a long way. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I think if there's fan involvement, you can probably just survey all your members, and you can probably get fan involvement that way. You probably don't do it through a token. But as I said, you know, commercially, the commercial director there will have targets, and this was potentially a way of getting some money up front from the company. And it's not just Arsenal; lots of clubs are doing it. So it's, you know, and we've got a loop in the Football Supporters Association where everyone's kind of just keeping an eye on it. So I think it's not for me, and I probably, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have signed up to it as a club. But it's one of those things. We see how it goes. I would just say, if anyone's going to get involved with it, you know, it's a free world. People should be allowed to do what they want. But I would read into it just to know what you're signing on to, because I think value of things can decrease a little bit as well. I think it is marketed to mostly over 18s, but there are some stuff that under 18s can do as well. So all I'll say is, if you're going to sort of, when you sign up, and if you sign up, then just read about it a little bit, and just, you know, just be a bit careful. We've had things, Football Index in this country, that kind of people signed up to and were buying players and stuff like that. And then that just died and people lost a lot of money. So I'm not suggesting people will lose money in this. I don't know, but you should always, because it's not regulated, so you should always be quite careful on things like this, I would say.
All right. So what other news can you give us in terms of initiatives or what's coming up, the next meeting? What's hot on the agenda for fans? Are you in touch? Have you spoken to Josh Kroenke since the protest? Give us the scoop.
Yeah, I mean, the owners have been pretty quiet, which won't surprise you. We haven't had much contact with them. We did, I think, send them our sort of annual AST survey, which probably didn't. I mean, it's nothing that they wouldn't expect already, but there was things in black and white there for them. They haven't responded to us about that. So we haven't had much. I mean, you know, also at the same time, we're all volunteers as well, and April, May with the Super League just absolutely got us. You know, we had to drop a lot of stuff just in our own lives a bit. So I think the summer was a little bit about just recuperating ourselves, getting kind of time back with our families and things like that. So after the Euro especially, we did have a few kind of quiet weeks just to do our own and not talk Arsenal, because it was pretty depressing at times. But I think in terms of Arsenal at the moment, obviously they want to get fans back in, so we're obviously going to have full attendances from tomorrow night, which I'm looking forward to. So at the Brentford game, we're going to have 60,000 at the Emirates again, which is the first time since March the 7th or whatever it was, 6th or 7th. So that's a good thing. Arsenal will be now following kind of what happens. We're always a new strain away from potential restrictions and stuff like that. So I think Arsenal will be very nervous about that. It's all about keeping people safe in the ground. So that's going to be their focus, getting people back in, making sure these cards and all that kind of stuff work and people can get in and out and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the focus. And then in the kind of wider remit, there's obviously a government review going on at the moment. We had an interim report about a month ago, and essentially that was after the Super League stuff. So after the Super League, government were sort of commissioned an independent report, a fan-led report, which the AST got to input into. So we gave kind of evidence verbally and written to the panel, which is a sort of an MP called Tracy Crouch, is leading. And apart from being a Spurs fan, she's actually she gets football. She's a referee. She's done coaching. She really gets football. She's just unfortunately chosen a really bad team, which I don't know, maybe she was born into a family there. Poor woman. But there's other people on there, like Clark Carlisle's on the panel and Roy Hodgson's on the panel and stuff like that as well. So we've given evidence how football clubs. So this is all about football ownership. So I mean, we've given sort of points that we believe that football clubs should all have. That the panel at the moment has agreed with us. So that's all about giving shares back to fans. So there's that transparency. I think I mentioned it last time, but I mean, we never. We don't get to see kind of the Arsenal books until about 2 years later. So we don't know if the Cronkies are putting money in, taking money out. We don't really get any sort of transparency. And of course, for over 100 years, we used to. And that just means people can kind of, it's our club as fans. It's all of our clubs. So that kind of information is really useful. We can't get that. So giving some shares back to fans is important. Having kind of non-exec kind of directors as well. So at the moment, the Arsenal board consists of the two Cronkies, the Cronkies lawyer, Tim Lewis, and one more, Lord Harris, who's been there a while. So there's no one really independent there. We've been calling on, get some independence in there. Get two people who are, independent to Arsenal, but who can challenge things, who can help, who can just give some sort of expertise. Because sooner or later, are you always gonna, when you have to make decisions, if you own a company, are you always gonna be looking at it in the right way? I'm not sure. So stuff like that is what kind of we've been calling for, and now it's a government review. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But lots going on in ownership, I would say.
Okay, so one of the questions that's coming in from a lot of the squaddies is they want to know a little bit more about Richard Garlick. He feels or seems like this enigma right now. Any communication, any contact, any kind of, hope that in the not too distant future he will be talking to the AST?
Not sure, really. We haven't had any contact with him. I mean, his appointment was announced many, many months before he actually started. So I think people probably have thought, has he been here like a year or so? And we haven't really heard from him. But I think he only really started at the start of the summer. So we haven't heard much from him. His role is kind of supporting football operations. So that does mean contracts and negotiations and stuff like that. He's replacing someone called Huss Farmy, who's kind of the transfer fixer a little bit. I mean, Dick Law, people might remember Dick Law from the Arsene Wenger days. So Richard Garlick's in there. He's experienced, talking to kind of West Brom fans. They speak quite highly of him. But we don't know much about him. We don't know much about his role yet in terms of how he's done. But I think it is all very new. But they've certainly kept him away from the limelight, really.
What do you say? There's some of our squaddies who are asking a couple harsh questions about the AST and the role you play. And I will put some of them are a bit upset because they feel that where is it? I'm not going to put the one up that suggests that you guys are fleecing fans, because I don't think that's fair. But I think that
you can put that up. I'm happy to.
Okay, all right then. Here, super fleet. AST just sit on the fence and have been complicit on the fleecing of Arsenal fans. I mean, that sounds a little harsh. How do you respond to a lot of this criticism that maybe you guys aren't tough enough? And Richard wants to also know is how will the AST remain relevant today?
Well, if I answer the first bit first about kind of fleecing fans, I'm not sure what they mean. Do they mean by our membership fees or something? I don't know.
Perhaps in terms of what they're paying a membership, and maybe he should explain it superfully. You can follow that up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, membership fees go straight back in, and unlike Arsenal, we are regulated in terms of we're a public kind of organisation, registered society. So we give Companies House our books every single year. We have an independent auditor who looks at our books and all that kind of stuff. So members can see where our spend is and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's all there documented and stuff like that. In terms of sitting on the fence, I mean, we obviously this year, you know, we had the Cronky Out Fans In campaign. I don't know if that's sitting on the fence because we're essentially saying the owner, if he doesn't want to be here, should sell. And we're saying fans should be in. So I think that's to me, I'm not sure that could be clearer. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're representing our members who are supporters as well. And, you know, you could ask, I mean, you can see it in the chat now, right? You can ask 100 people a question. They'll probably all have a slightly different answer. So you'll never be able to represent everyone. And you know, we don't, I mean, we get people kind of telling us that, oh, we should do more against Mikel Arteta or against Edu, against, you know, and stuff like that. But generally, what we're trying to work on is the kind of governance and ownership, because that's where the AST kind of started. And then also the kind of representing fans in terms of My Arsenal Rewards and stuff like that. And that, you know, Sosa stuff, kind of just making sure we know what that's about, explaining it, getting the messages across, working with the club where we can to communicate better with fans. You know, I know we're going to talk about online kind of abuse and stuff like that. That's somewhere where we can work with the club. So, you know, it's I get opinions, and I'm not, you know,
Akhil, can I just say something to you? I want to say something to you and ask you a question all in the same thing, because I think fans look at AST and realistically are what they say, is what they say relevant and realistic? Because you guys only are allowed a certain amount of power. Do you think these fans think that you have more power than you actually have?
Maybe. I mean, we get to say our piece, but then what happens after that is up to essentially the Cronkies. They own the club, you know, nobody else does. So, you know, it's a case of, I mean, I remember when the Cronkies took over in terms of 100% kind of, you know, ownership. And we did have to look at ourselves and think, well, we stood for ownership. We had minority shareholders and all that kind of stuff. We had shares ourselves that got compulsory taken away. We had to think that, do we sort of think, well, we can't do much now and let's sort of let it be sort of thing. But then, you know, I don't know. I believe that you need fan groups out there to actually challenge clubs and stuff. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be even worse kind of thing. You know, we're going to see things like this cryptocurrency, and we're going to see maybe a European Super League. I mean, you know, are the AST relevant was the other question. Well, obviously in April, when that was all sort of the decision kicked off, it was fans that all got together. So now I'm not suggesting that AST stopped it or anything like that, but the AST certainly played their part with all the other supporter clubs across the country. You know, we talked to all the other trusts, with the FSA. We obviously met with government and all that kind of stuff. We met with UEFA as well. So it's kind of like, are we relevant? Well, people were talking to us at the time. I mean, you know, not many people get meetings with the Prime Minister. So, you know, I'm not saying I don't want to oversell our importance, because I don't think it's anything like that. But
you spearheaded a movement that other clubs then followed. I mean, these are facts. I mean, we saw it with our own eyes. And there's only so much you can do. And I'm sure, like, there's more things that you guys can do, but you can't exactly, what are you going to do? Put a gun to the owner's head so they can buy players and transfers? What impact can you really have on that? And that's another question that's coming up a lot in chat. I don't know where those expectations come from on that front.
Exactly, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's where we can push, we will push, and trying to get sort of a stake back to fans means suddenly we can see all the books. Suddenly we know how much Arsenal have to spend, and then we can actually say, well, we know there's 50 million sitting there. Why aren't you spending it? But at the moment we're on the outside, so it's really tough. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a privately owned business, so they can do what they want, whether we like it or not. But no, it's not a supermarket. We can't go elsewhere. Once you're a supporter of a football club, you're
real
a
quick,
supporter of a football club.
Before we get on to one last thing with you, are there any future protests planned? Is that on the cards, or what's the scoop there?
So I think that the sort of, I want to sound really boring here, but the fan-led government review is obviously one of the biggest protests you can have, because it's essentially the whole country is looking at how ownership is. KSC are in America. They, these protests are probably uncomfortable for stewards and the authorities here and the police. But do the Cronkies really feel it? I don't know. But, we'll see. Because, I mean, we see people at the same time say, get behind the team and stuff like that all the time. It's a new season. We should be getting behind the team. So it's a tough one there. I think we'll sort of see what happens. The first protest was organic. It was after the Super League. It just happened. We weren't actually involved. So I think we'll see. The biggest protests in the ground that have happened haven't actually been organised by organisations. There've been, empty seats at the back end of Arsene Wenger's days, the spend some money, that kind of stuff. They're the biggest protests we've seen, the Super League one. So a lot of them actually just happen organically.
Okay, let's get on to this subject. And real quick, one final question that a lot of people have asked, and they'll kill me if I don't ask you. Have you guys had any communication with Daniel Ek?
Not since the first time. So in sort of, was it April, May? Nothing since. But I mean, he essentially told us that he's a young man. He's only sort of 30 years old, just over 30 years old. He's got, hopefully, a long life ahead of him. He said he's not going anywhere. Of course, his consortium's a little bit affected because one of them is now the manager of Crystal Palace. I don't think he'll be joining or anything like that. But he said he's not going away. I think he knew he was in it for the long term. But no, we haven't heard any more from him.
Okay, so tell us about this organisation that you're involved in. And seems like another great initiative. More needs to be done, of course. And our boy Saka was a victim of horrific abuse, of course, along with Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho following the Euros. Axe, tell us what you're involved in, how involved you are, and what this all means.
So about 6 months ago, in the kind of FSA, Football Supporters Association, which we're a member and we're an active member, we talked about kind of online abuse and fighting online abuse. It's something I'm passionate about, coming from a BAME background. I do stuff like that in my kind of working life as well. So we kind of got together. We talked to kind of PFA, Kick It Out, the FA, the Premier League, to see what kind of things people are doing. And it seemed it wasn't very aligned. Everyone was sort of doing their own thing and stuff like that. So we had about 4 months of a bit of research. And then kind of before the season starting, so i.e. a couple of weeks ago, we thought, well, maybe after the final, actually, when obviously the Saka stuff happened along with Sancho and Rashford, it was just, we at the AST thought we need to do something here. And obviously I work in social media. So I've got a little bit of knowledge on that, and I know how the kind of reporting mechanism works. So it's basically social media have an automated tool where they have keywords in there, and if those keywords are said, they'll then ban sort of accounts and stuff like that. How effective that is I've got no idea.
Well, it's ineffective at the minute.
Well, exactly. So it might be a little bit better than it was a year ago, but it's certainly nowhere near where it should be. And the other way is obviously actual reports, so manual reports. When people see abuse, they should be reporting it. And I think maybe sometimes we're all guilty of it. We don't always do it. We just see it. Somebody else will do it, or let's not give them the attention, stuff like that, which I understand as well. But so we got together with all the other kind of supporter trust, and it was something led by us, led by me. We got these kind of assets done, and all it is we're telling fans ahead of the new season, look, if you see abuse, report it. Let's put pressure on the social media companies in every way we can. So as supporter clubs and trusts, we're constantly trying to write to social media companies. I know we're lobbying government for it. We're even lobbying Arsenal to do as much as they can do. But what every individual can do is actually report abuse when they see it. So we just wanted to raise awareness of that, it's as easy as a 30-second job. If you see abuse, don't let it go, and that can be to a player. It can be to a fellow supporter. It can just be, nobody deserves abuse. And you can have views, you can have opinions. And there's been a few here, right, about me and the AST and stuff like that. And I'm as long as it's all respectful, that's opinions and stuff. But when it starts to get abusive, that's when, that's probably not right. So that's kind of what we're doing. So we're going to be, you would have seen kind of many supporter kind of clubs today, Wolves, Leeds, Leicester, Villa, they've all kind of supported the movement. And we'll hopefully see it kind of ongoing for the next kind of few months and stuff. Will it make a difference? Maybe not a huge one, maybe a small one, but the more we do collectively, hopefully we can, change for the better and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's as many initiatives as we can make happen, right, Kev? I know this is something you feel very strongly about.
Listen, one thing I will say, Akhil, and to everybody who's in chat, etc., you might question what's going on, but you have to have somebody, an organization representing the fans. You have to. Because the moment AST goes away, you are in a real bad position. And I mean a real bad position. So you can question, of course you can. Everybody's got their opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, having a supporters trust like AST is vital for the football club. Not just now, but for future to come. It's really important.
Well said, Kev. Completely agree with you. And listen, when the protests came about and earlier this year happened, everyone was united and everyone was raving about the AST and what people like Akhil and the rest of the gang were trying to do as well. So there's only so much an organization can do when it comes to stuff like this. But the more you make your voice heard, hopefully it will lead to some type of change in the long term. Right, Axe, we're going to let you go. 2 minutes over time. That's not bad for me, to be honest with you. What is your prediction for tomorrow against Brentford before you leave us? I know you don't like doing this kind of stuff, and maybe just tell us what your expectations are for the season. Then
it's not that I don't like. It's because I'm not very good at them. It's a real banana skin to me because, newly promoted clubs. I mean, Kev will tell you this: newly promoted clubs, they've got a bit of a bounce at the start of the season. Generally, they start the season well, and then by November they start to kind of go down and stuff like that. So it's a real tough game. And if you look at our next 3 or 4 after that, you do feel a little bit worried. So it's essential we get off to a win. Any sort of a win, we just need to try and win. But I don't know. I hope we can just get the first goal. And, it's them in a new stadium as well with fans in for the first time, full capacity. So, I mean, all I say is I'm looking forward to going to the game because it's my first away game the last one was Portsmouth in the FA Cup full round in early March the 1st or whatever it was, last year. I'm really looking forward to the game. Expectations for this season. We finished 2 years running. Let's hope we can beat that.
Better than 8th, Akhil. Just say better than 8th.
Better than 8th is that would be Europa Conference, which would be, I don't know. But I certainly,
Yeah, I know. We all feel the same, and I'll leave you with Mark's comment. Be excited, Axe. Be excited.
Mark's funny.
Well, look, thanks so much for joining us. It's always nice having you on here, and remember us always when you have initiatives that you want to spread the word on and share links to, and we'll keep doing that for you.
Top man, okay, thank you, mate, and congratulations as well, by the way, to you and the family. Take care.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
Okay, bye. Thanks again to Akhil for joining us. And then there were 2.
Yeah, you know what, Sophie? What he's doing, he doesn't, a lot of the time, people can zero in on them and throw a lot of crap at them, right? But honestly, I'm gonna state this again. It is so important to have people who have the supporters' best interests at heart. Yes. It is so important because you know what? If it's a privately run company and there is not that buffer, supporters trust, they can just run roughshod over all of us.
Well, you know, Kev, you bring up a really good point. And I tell you, respect to Akhil for us answering those tough questions.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he's not afraid to face them, confront them, and try to speak to them as best he can. So, and like I said, that's as much as he can do. Right, Kev, I just saw you in the background here because I do have, and people have guessed it right, and the movie 89 playing. And as Akhil was just answering the question, I looked and I was thinking, look, it's Kev. It's when they're getting the old finger treatment up against the wall.
Hey, steady on. We're getting talked to.
Talked to, you know.
We're getting talked. Steady on with that. Jeez, I tell you what. I hope the kids are in bed. Jeez. Jeez, I tell you, that's why I had to help you out there, Soph. Yeah. Hey, that's a red, that's a straight red. No,
Come
yellow,
on,
all right,
no.
yellow, all right, yellow.
I mean, I'll tell you something. I am going to give a couple yellow cards out. One is to Archangel, okay, who is a devout listener of the show, and I love his interaction on the YouTube comments as well. But he's going to get a yellow card today because as Akhil was talking, he's like, this is really boring. And I appreciate the honesty. And as you know, we take on the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes,
here,
yes, we do.
But this is what the listeners asked for. They wanted an AST update, but nonetheless,
yellow
goes into the book. And then, Kev, I'm sorry, but there's another yellow to hand out, and this
really?
one won't surprise you. Newman backs him up. Okay,
Newman, yes. Before the season even started, Newman gets a yellow. I love it.
I've been waiting to hand one out to him. Waiting.
Oh, man.
So there you go. That's it for the cards. Hopefully, the handing out the cards today. Right, we're not going to be here for too much longer. It's been a long week, a lot going on. Kev, I mean, you've been on Sky Sports today. You've done it all, talking about the new season. What's the general consensus out there when you're going at it with pundits and other reporters? And what's the sense with the Arsenal? They like the old, is that, you know, how long's Arteta going to last? And
yeah, they love to stoke the fire. The real clarity that I get is Arsenal fans, obviously, we're not sure because we need to get to the end of the transfer window and see who else we've brought in, because that's what we need. We need that to give us a lift.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the impression people don't expect us to do well. They don't. And just Arsenal style, I love us to ram it down their throats. Them being against Arsenal is what I've lived for. When I was at Arsenal, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Them against us, Sophie. Everybody else don't fancy us, don't do this, can't do that, and we produce. So I really hope the team see this and hear what fans think. Opposition, Arsenal are nothing. It's time to step up, boys. It's time.
It really is, isn't it? It really is, Kev. I mean, there's a lot of worried and trepidation. We're going to give our predictions for tomorrow just to reinforce it to everybody. Wow, my nails are really grubby. You know, we've got all sorts of work going on here, which is why I'm in this room today.
Yep.
And you know, there's a lot.
I think the squaddies might prefer that room if you're going to keep playing this stuff on TV. I tell you,
I'm going to stay positive all season, and I'm just going to have stuff on the TV in the background. Okay. Next show, I'll have Thierry Henry's best goals. I'll do yours, your highlights. I'll do righty.
That would be nice. That would be nice. That would be nice. But if it's tough things to do, you're not going to turn it on. If we get a tough result, I know you're going to, the samurai will be out. So
always ready, Kev. Always ready.
There you go.
One of these, missed that. Yes.
Rock it up. Yeah.
No. Yes. All right. So, by the way, congratulations to Magic Mike from the Gooners podcast.
Incredible.
Incredible, Kev. They made it. They did the first ever podathon. Wonderful idea. Raised 5,000 plus for Gooners versus Cancer. You can still donate, everybody. Go to goonersversuscancer.com and donate and find out more. But well done to Mike. He did an incredible job, Kev.
Yeah.
And that was quite the occasion, wasn't it, really? Getting everyone together like that.
Yeah, listen, he's the top guy, Magic Mike. Obviously, microwaves his water and all that kind of thing. Unbelievable. Even had a Dicky Bowl on to greet me earlier on.
Which Stuart Robson.
Yeah. Stuart Robson absolutely hammered him, which was brilliant as well. And then Magic Mike abused him. Magic Mike abused him after that. It was, listen, I tell you what, maybe we're going to put it down to Magic Mike was a little bit tired at that stage.
Yeah. I mean, he literally said to Stuart Robson, look, you've overstayed your welcome, which we know he didn't mean. But it was so classic. Because Stuart Robson, you don't really want to mess with him too much, do you?
Stuart Robson was like,
it was a Freudian slip, but it was absolutely brilliant stuff. So well done, and
great cause.
5,000 rounds,
great
cause.
Yeah,
all right, Kev, let's get round this puppy up. Tomorrow we are going to be on after the game.
Yes, we are.
And so when there's going to be no pre-game, no halftime show for tomorrow, but we will be on immediately after the game to give you our take, of course. Mm-hmm. And Kev, what are you thinking? How do you think this one's going to go?
I honestly, and I've said this earlier on today. I've said it previously a couple of days ago, Sophie. Mm-hmm. I truly expect Arsenal to win this game. I really do. I know Brentford will come up and you get the bounce and all that kind of thing. But listen, I expect Arsenal are the better team. Arsenal have got the better players. Yeah, can they beat us? Of course they can. It's a game of football, but I expect first game of the season, Arsenal have got more quality, and I expect Arsenal to turn up and beat them. I said 2-1. I think it was on Tuesday. And you know what? I might even change it for 3-1, Soph.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, honestly. I honestly think Arsenal are going to win the game.
All right. I don't fancy the game tomorrow. And I don't want to be negative, and it's not about me being a pessimist, but I just think there's this vibe about Brentford, their first game, you know, back in the big time, Kev, and they've got some really attractive players. They play lovely football. My biggest concern for me is scoring goals. I think we'll do pretty well at the back. We've been solid. The numbers show that, the stats, the data. I think they can score more goals than we can right now. And so I hope I'm absolutely wrong, and I will take it on the chin if I am, Kev.
Well, listen, we all hope you're wrong.
Yes.
But I'm backing the boys to start the season properly.
I think we'll lose 2-1.
So you are being negative. I'm not going to be negative, but I'm going to be negative.
I'm just being honest.
No, hey, listen, it's your opinion. Yeah, I get it. But you said you're not going to be negative. And then you said, I'm still going to be negative.
But I did say before that I don't want to be negative, but I don't think we're going to win. You know, I just don't.
Yeah, but you might have thought we were going to draw.
No, I don't. I don't think. My biggest concern is we still lack creating chances, and we can't get anyone to score goals. I think Saka's going to need time to kind of get back on his feet after the Euros.
I don't think Saka will start.
No, he'll be on the bench. And now these guys want to give me a red card. I'm going to really regret introducing these this season as well, aren't I?
Hey, Sophie, seriously. I tell you what, you're close to a suspension already.
That's what someone said.
And you could take that Newman with you, by the way.
He's only got one so far, but everyone's telling him that we should go to VAR.
Listen, Newman will get a red very soon. You know it, and I know it.
It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Saeed's not far behind him. He's acting all innocent in chat today. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And that's Zamir. He's due one as well.
Well, you know, he's so funny. I mean, he was like, you know, he was giving it in the chat over at Mike's as well. When you came on, he goes, aye, the lawyer's here.
The lawyer, yeah, the lawyer. The Dicky Bow lawyer today, Zamir. You know it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, look, it's been a great week. It's going to be another great week next week. I'll let you know about the show next week. And remember, our Fan Ambassador series will kick off next week. We're going to be doing that French football watch. We announced that way before Messi decided to go to PSG. Because of course we have a lot of talent that comes out of France, and we're going to keep our eye on Saliba.
He joined because of that, didn't he?
He joined because he knew we were going to do the show.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I think that's it for today, Kev. I have nothing else on the agenda. Do you?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you, Sophie.
All right.
Regarding yesterday's show.
Oh. Yeah.
And with the squaddies, how did the questions go down for you and the squaddies? And do you reckon it's something that we should do a bit more of?
Yes. I love Wednesday Wisdom, because I think it gives us the opportunity to try to find some positives in what is a very difficult time right now for the club. And what I like, the difference between, and they'll let us know, and they'll DM, and they'll let us know on YouTube as well. And you can always email us at thehighburysquad@gmail.com. Is it's a little bit different to what we do with Kevin Says as well.
That's right. Yeah.
And for me, I needed that yesterday. I needed to hear some wise words. I'm always so excited about the new Premier League season, Kev. But I'm fearful because I just don't want to start off and have negativity in terms of a series of results. You could, like me, I don't fancy us tomorrow. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be a negative Nelly for the next few weeks. It just means that I think there's some stars aligning for Brentford to have a better game than us. And also it's Friday the 13th. I mean, it's just typical that we would play on Friday the 13th, right?
It's written in the stars. Oh my God.
But I think the one that really got people going was and I think it was Virginia who said, you're talking to the wrong fan base, Kev, when you said, if it's not a good result, just keep it low.
Try and keep it level.
And if we do great, don't go too high, right? And that's the comment that really
got the most.
Drove.
Got the most. Well, here's the reason why. First game of the season doesn't win you anything other than 3 points. If you lose, it's not the end of the world, because we've seen crazy freak results on day one of the season. We have seen crazy freak results.
Oh, yeah.
So, and rightly so, Panish. Rightly so. Brentford shouldn't be scared of us. But in our head, we've got to earn the right for them to be frightened of us. And realize you're playing at another level now. This is our key.
You know, Kev, a little like Nick here. I guess I'm a bit scared about this coming season. It's so important, and you know that documentary is also being shot at the same time. I just don't want our club to be humiliated in any way. You know, I'm tired of being the dartboard for everybody. And in a sense, we've also now been throwing darts at the dartboard, a lot of us, you know. And I don't want to misconstrue it with, let's have honest and authentic conversations. But I just don't want it to get toxic right away. You know, there's a difference between saying, okay, you know, I don't think we're going to win tomorrow, and then going on an absolute rampage and being toxic about it. I think those are the differences. And so, you know, for me, I know you and I go back and forth, and you're always the optimist, right? And some people people, and you know, because I throw all the questions at you and I tell you what people say on YouTube and stuff like that, they think that because you played for the club, like you have this in on the club, and that's just not the case. You know, it just really isn't the case.
Sophie, one thing I want to say, and this is to obviously all the squaddies and people who think, you know, I'm Arteta's lawyer and all this kind of thing. You have heard me say, if Arsenal don't get it right, Arteta's gonna lose his job. That is the business. That is the business of football. But what he needs to do, he needs to quickly get the personnel in, as we say, make it his team, and we've got to show some progress. That's what we've got to do. We've got to show some I'm not saying it's just going to change overnight, but we got to be a lot better than we were last season. I mean, come on. For half a season, we were woeful.
Yes. And I'm hoping that form that we had towards the end of the season, Kev, is going to carry through and continue. Now, of course, a lot's happened in between, right? We've had the Euros. Players have gone away. They've come back. It takes a while to get your match fitness, to get into the groove of the season. You've been there. You know that. But now in this first game, for me, always the first game is, and again, I'm not picking on Arteta here, but I feel, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that first game, you have to be prepared as a player, but have the coaching staff got this team ready for that match? Well,
do you know what, Sophie? Here's the crazy thing. The players know what to do. They've been involved in football a long time. Let's be honest. The players know what to do on the first game. But when it's the first game, they've never played against Brentford in a league. Brentford are coming in fresh. Arsenal, it's a new away stadium. It's the first time they've gone there. Players that they're playing against, they don't really know. So it can either work for you or against you. What Arsenal do know is this. The level of player at Brentford is not the level of player at Arsenal. But in order to be positive and get the right result, you have to better your opponent all over the pitch. That's where Arsenal struggled last season.
Yes.
We have to do better at that this season.
And Kev, I'm not saying we're going to learn everything about this team in this first match, but we're going to learn a lot, I think. And for me, there's two things that could go wrong even before the kickoff, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of the online meltdown.
Go on.
Is if he picks Willian?
Which is not.
Okay, but this one he might. Or if he starts Xhaka and El Neni together.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to see Willian, especially in the starting 11. That's for sure. I think Lokonga has done enough. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be Lokonga and Xhaka in the midfield. I think El Neni will be on the bench, which is fine. I just think it's going to be that team. I'm not too sure about the right back. Maybe Chambers.
Sid's added another one. Bellerin.
I think it'll be Chambers. Mm-hmm. But hey, he might play Bellerin. I think it's going to be as close to that team that started at Spurs as possible.
Yeah, I hope so, because for me that will indicate one thing. I don't need to say two or three things, that he's really truly ready to turn this team around with new personnel, right? Mm-hmm. I get that Chambers may have to play right back. Would he? I don't want him to be our long-term right back. But, if Maitland-Niles isn't ready and he's in a different headspace, if Cedric is still not the guy, that's one I'll forgive. But I won't forgive if he starts Bellerin in that right back position.
Yeah.
So you're right, Sid. Adding Bellerin to that is important. But if he starts those players, Bellerin, Xhaka with El Neni, I don't blame him starting Xhaka. He's our best midfielder when right now in terms of Thomas
and most experienced,
most experienced. I'm not saying Lokonga's not as good as Xhaka, but he's just not played in the Premier League yet. Mm-hmm. But I love what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
So that's the key for me, Kev, is he going to right off the bat say, Arsenal fans, this is going to be what I'm going to try and do this season?
Yeah, well, he has to. He has to. Because he knows fans are there. Whereas last season, the fans weren't there. We struggled, Soph. We struggled playing in front of empty stadiums at times, especially in the first half of the season. We really struggled. But, fans are going to be there now. So
there's no hiding, Kev, this season.
Yeah, of course. There is none. So I understand that. And we need the results. That's the key.
Okay, so Craig has asked me this 10 times, and if I don't ask you, he may post it 10 more times. We did this, Craig. We did a show last month where we did the first 10 games. Was it the first 10 games, Kev?
It was the first 10. I had Arsenal top of the league. Well, I was saying, I think Arsenal had, I think it was 24 points.
25 points somewhere
25
there.
points or something like that. Something ridiculous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
you still feeling good about that? I mean,
first 5 games, I think Arsenal will lose 1. I think they lost 1, drew 1, and won the other 3. So what is that? 10 points.
I would have said we will probably beat Chelsea, but now they have Lukaku.
But will he be ready? I don't know. But listen, at the end of the day, it's early.
It should be for that amount of money.
Well,
but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, he's just come in. He might need some more training, etc. I don't know. But listen, weird things happen at the start of the season. 10 points, I'll take 10 points. Craig,
who do you think,
I'll take 10.
Who do you think is going to win the league?
I think Manchester City are not done. I think they're going to go all out and get Harry Kane, and I think that's going to be the difference. If they get Kane, that's the difference.
So if they get Kane, they win. If they don't, who do you fancy?
Chelsea.
Yeah,
I do. I think that Lukaku's a big statement, man. He's improved his all-round game at Inter massively. So now he's ready. And remember, he was there before, was never the main man there. Now he's going back as the main man. That's going to mean something. Yeah.
Antonio Conte just made him such a better footballer.
Oh,
this is what I mean sometimes with managers, like experienced managers, how they can just get something out of him. And Lukaku was so disrespected when he played at Man United. I mean, it was ridiculous. And, you know, for me, you and I had a show where we said he's the one that we would want up front if we could have any player up front.
Oh, listen, he's a nightmare.
Yeah,
he is a nightmare for defenses. Yeah. But just like anything, you got to get him on the training pitch and you got to work with him. That's what Antonio Conte done.
Yeah, he did, and he shifted a few. He looks leaner. He looks fitter, faster.
Serious. He took it. Listen, he got serious.
Yeah,
he got serious about his career.
So your top 4, other than City, Chelsea, who are the other 2?
City, Chelsea, Man United, and probably Liverpool. It's probably going to be.
Does that taste like vinegar coming out your mouth?
Yeah, but you know, I've got to be Van Dijk coming back, Gomez coming back. You know, they've got the front 4, haven't they? It's not only 3 anymore. They got Jota, who comes in there and does a really good job as well. I just think they've got the firepower. So,
and Trent's going to have a better season this season.
He'll have a better season.
He'll have a.
The one issue for Liverpool is, can they get their midfield right? Because Wijnaldum's gone, and you know what?
Yep.
People didn't put respect on that man's name. Yep. He was an ever-present, and he was like the glue that glued them together. Now he's gone. He's got to be replaced.
Yeah.
And the dynamic will not be the same. So they're going to have to try and combat that.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, they've still got the leadership of Henderson, but he's been injury prone a little of late. They have Konate, right?
Yes.
Now, and who is it? Keita? Do you think
Keita's still there? He's still there, but he probably won't play.
He's probably not going to be starting.
The Ox won't play.
Kev, I think that they're 2 injuries away again of having a mediocre season.
Again, I think
they're a bit thin.
I think the midfield, Sophie, and for us, the midfield. You look at the top teams. The midfields are the key. They're not the key for us, and Liverpool's I'm not sure of at the moment. They'll be good, but to challenge them boys, no.
Who's going to finish 5th and 6th?
I think Arsenal finish 5th and Leicester 6th.
Okay. Well, I'm going to shock you here. Do you want to hear it?
Sophie, shock me.
I think Man United might win the league this year.
They might. Well, listen, them 2 additions, very good. But I still think that midfield balance isn't right.
I think that they're going to fix that before the end of the window. I don't think they're quite done yet with that. And you know what it is too? And this is what I really hope Arteta can do, Kev. If you look, 2 seasons ago, everyone was calling for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's head.
Mm-hmm.
Novice manager, relegated Cardiff, can't do anything. Why is he there? He's just a legend. He's only got the job because he's the babyface assassin. You know, all of these things. And they were in that bottom half of the table, 14th. I think they were 14th, 13th or 14th, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
And he failed to win the trophies when he's been put in a position to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Huge failure to not win the Europa League as well this season. And I'm parking the cups, right? Mm-hmm. Because in the Premier League, he's improved them positionally. Mm-hmm. You know, when he took over, it was dire. They get a little better. They still miss out, you know, on a Champions League spot. But then eventually last season, boom, they get to second, right? Mm-hmm. They have a number on City when Man United play City, you know. There's certain
away.
Things,
they do away, not at home.
Yeah. Not at home. But there's certain things. I'm not saying he's a great manager and he's this master tactician, but he's improved them. And I think they will do well despite him because Luke Shaw's better. Harry Maguire's better. They've got Varane now. They've still got Cavani. They've got Rashford, who's going to be injured for the start of the season. They've got Jadon Sancho, who's going to be difficult for people to read at first because not a lot of teams have seen him. I think De Gea is going to have a much better season this season. I don't know what it is. I just kind of fancy them. They've got a more than decent squad.
Sophie, have you seen their squad?
I know. Paul Pogba.
More than decent. Listen, they've got a serious squad who can challenge. They finished second last season, right? And now they're a lot stronger, especially at the back with Varane. Mm-hmm. And they've got that player now who can unlock a door because even in the Europa League final, that was their problem. They couldn't unlock a door just from the midfield. Mm-hmm. They needed somebody to unlock the door by beating somebody at the top end of the pitch, and they couldn't do it. Hence, Jadon Sancho's in.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think with them as well, their players have improved. We saw that in the Euros as well. They've got those players are now coming back with a bit more confidence as well. And thanks, Superflea. I was thinking of Harvey Elliott at Liverpool. That was the one. So I'm going to go for United. I think City will finish second. I think Chelsea will be close. I think it's going to be really tight, really tight. And it's
exciting.
Yeah, I think Liverpool will probably get that 4th spot. I think Tottenham and Arsenal are in for a long season. I don't even know who I'd pick. I think Leicester would probably finish 5th. And I may even say Leicester have done a really good job, Kevin. They could sneak. If Liverpool get a couple injuries, Leicester could finish in 4th spot and finally do it this season. And Liverpool could finish 5th.
We will see.
We will see.
It starts tomorrow, my dear. It starts tomorrow.
It starts tomorrow, and we will be back to talk all about it. You're not going to want to miss it, everybody. Now, remember, I'm going to let Kev take it over now because there's 300. There were 400 of you in live chat tonight. Okay? Kev, you tell them.
Listen, thank you for joining us. And remember, touch, caress, smash, but don't break that like button. We like to work at minimum 50%. If you get it to 75 or 100, I'll give you more salutes. Come on, Gooners. Up the Arsenal. You know you love it. No yellows, Soph. No yellows. First game of the season tomorrow, guys. Come on, squaddies. Be at your best. No at ease. Be at your best.